Hello and welcome back to another Author Lounge. This month we are doing something a little bit different. How the hell it's June already? I don't know, but we thought we'd do something a little special. And instead of just one author in the Fantasy Lounge, I've managed to wrangle two. So this month we have none other than Michael R Fletcher and Clayton Snyder in the lounge here to talk about all sorts of fantasy stuff and their brand new book, NORYLSKA GROANS. So, hey guys, how you doing?
Hey, awesome. Thanks for having us, man.
Good to see you. Good to see you. We're doing sort of a North American fantasy author lounge with Canada. And then, in fact, I don't know if it works on your screen, but I have Canada at the top and then the US down the bottom. So it works geographically.
It's the way it should be. And Yank somewhere below us.
Yeah.
I'm close enough to Canada that I don't know if it matters.
That's true. Yeah. Well, tell us about yourself first off. Who are you guys? Tell us about your evil selves or your books. Who wants to go first?
Clayton, you want this one?
Go
for it.
Dive on in.
I'll try and make something up.
I am Clayton Snyder. I've written a small from Demons Inc. to the Obsidian Psalm. Evil self is pretty much me on a regular day, so I don't really have a good.
Oh, shit! I was like waiting for the long version.
Yeah, I was. You called me drinking. I was like, "That cheap."
I'm Michael R Fletcher, author of some books like the Obsidian Path series, like Blackstone Heart, She Dreams in Blood, and the Manifest Illusions stuff published by Harper Voyager a while back. And I don't have an evil self because I am a fluffy teddy bear through and through.
Lies. We know it's lies.
It's all lies.
One page of either of your books is enough to is enough to prove what goes on, or at least hint at what goes on in there. Let's kind of dig into that. I mean, why do we like this kind of fantasy? Is it something you read as well as write? Is it something you kind of always written? Yeah. What's the draw for dark and epic and grim fantasy?
Yeah, for myself, it's I don't really think about genres much while writing. I have a story I want to tell, and then I just tell that story. The fact that they all kind of turn out to be maybe a little on the dark side probably says stuff I'm not totally comfortable examining. And, I honestly, I don't know where it comes from because I'm basically like such a fucking sweetheart. I'm so peaceful and happy all the time. But somewhere in there's this dark little core of obsidian soul, I guess.
A little sliver of black magic in there, dark magic. Yeah. What about you, Clayton?
Well, I got to think on that one. I tend to fall more on the cynical side when I look at the way people act and the way just society in general is structured. And that it comes out in my work. I've never really been one for saccharine, for fluffy, sweet, happy endings, and that's just kind of where I fall when I'm writing. It's not really on purpose. It's just kind of, well, this is what I think of things, and that's how it comes out. So.
Yeah, I know that feeling. For some reason, there's always religion is never good in my books. I think we discussed this in some of the cons we've done over the last year or two, but yeah, there's always an evil cult or a church that's never good. And yeah, from personal experiences and my cynicism in that area. So yeah, I know that feeling. Well, talk to us about the brand new book then, NORYLSKA GROANS. And I hopefully am pronouncing that right, because the first time I saw it, I had to mouth out loud.
We have no idea how to pronounce it either, so you're gold.
Something groans.
Something or other groaning.
That's it. But yeah, NORYLSKA GROANS. I mean, I love the cover. It gives me that sort of, before I even kind of read the description of it and sort of kind of that grim noir description that you've got, it was already giving me those vibes. So yeah, tell us about that book. Who's going to give us the pitch? The elevator pitch.
Clayton, you want to field this one?
Sure.
Yeah, throw it out. Any tough ones he gets.
Distraction. So NORYLSKA GROANS is about, you had mentioned it's a noir. It really is. It's a secondary world, low fantasy noir. And it's about these two people, Katyushka, who is kind of, she's from this disgraced and exiled family that's been thrown into the city that's just kind of this cesspit. And what she really wants more than anything else is to please the people around her. She wants to please her fiance. She wants to please her future husband. And in that regard, she takes a job which she thinks is going to, help their position in life, and it actually kind of gets, she gets voluntold that she's now going to be part of the police force. On the flip side of that is Jendi, who is a family man. He's a vet. He suffers from PTSD, and he is just trying to kind of make ends meet. And when he loses his job, he turns to the next thing that comes along, which is a position with the crime family, kind of a low-level enforcer thug. And what the book is about is kind of the paths these two lives take and the way they collide.
Awesome. That sounds great. Yeah, I love multiple POVs in general.
Hilarious hijinks ensue.
Yeah, I like that. So you're literally talking crime family and then sort of a police officer the reluctant police officer. I'm getting sort of, the kind of Chicago in the 1920s, but like you said, secondary fantasy or different worlds. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it's very much so I mean it's massively influenced by Russia, kind of late Tsarist, sort of Russia circa 1910 kind of area technology wise.
Okay.
And there are a lot of if you know your history at all, like we lean heavily into that. Rather than world building, we did more world stealing than anything.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, we didn't really make anything up so much as like steal it.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I kind of got the sort of, got to remember my kind of history now. Is it the revolution, Bolshevik revolution? Yeah, that sort of kind of vibe. I mean, the cover screams, and the font, obviously, you've done branding, and yeah, absolutely. That Russian vibe is there. So that's really cool. I love it's on your it's right there, actually. Yeah,
oh my God.
Oh,
conveniently placed. Pure coincidence.
Just hovering.
Oh, let me
right
lean
here.
out of the way here.
That's it. Yeah, that's cool. We'll get the cover up and the links and stuff like that. My copy is coming and I cannot wait to read it. So yeah, I need a bit of sort of detective noir. And I think it's something that I haven't seen, even though there's flavors of it in fantasy, I haven't seen sort of a lot of titles that are kind of full on and just being like, this is a noir, you're going to enjoy this. This is kind of, fantasy, but we have the cop and the robber sort of thing. So yeah, count me in.
I don't think it'd be unfair to say that we probably pulled a lot of influence from Peter McClean's Priest of Bone series and Daniel Polansky's Lowtown and all of that as well too. So
both awesome series.
Yeah, it's great to see, and I think it's something that needs more exploration because I love it. Love that noir genre. The excuse to just have she walked into my office on a rainy day.
It's like cigarette smoking is cool again. Fuck
that's
yeah.
it. Everyone's got a cigarette or a pipe.
Huge, excuse to walk into a room that's blue with smoke.
Nice. That's excellent. Well, let's talk about the fact it's also co-authored, because I mean, that's the whole point. We've got both of you here, and that's something, and it might be the fact I was just kind of buried in work earlier this year, but this book just kind of appeared. And, it's sort of like you just kind of brought it out of nowhere. So what was the process? How did it start?
Yeah. So I can't actually remember when. A pile of months ago, I was in the middle of wrapping up another book, and I had this idea for a book, but nowhere near enough time to actually write it. And so I thought I'd be super clever and try and trick somebody into like writing half the book for me, right? I just read Clayton's Obsidian Psalm, and it was fucking completely mental. And I was like, nice. This guy. So I basically shot him a message saying like, I have a really terrible idea. Let's write a book together. And he was like, done, let's do it. So we I had some basics for the magic system put together and some basics for the world building sort of put together. After that, we sort of bounced plot ideas back and forth until we sort of had like the bones of a story. And then basically we took a character each. And we tried to start with them as far apart as possible. And so that by the end of the book, you've got this sort of like inevitable train wreck that just builds for an entire novel. And
yes.
Clayton, you want to take it from there and throw whatever.
I guess as far as the process, we kind of laid out a loose plot to start with, and then what we did was broke that down into three chapter sections for each of us, and then went back, each other's, which helped, because you're constantly in your own head, and that makes it difficult to really gauge where you should be or where you're at when you're doing that. And I think once we got those, kind of where we wanted them, we moved on to the next three, and then next three, and so on until we were done with the book. I don't know if we really ever had a solid ending until three-quarters of the way through.
Yeah.
But yeah, it worked out very well, and it went incredibly smooth for the process. So
yeah, that sounds really cool.
It was really surprising. I mean, we went into this kind of like not knowing each other at all beyond some like passing, social media sort of interaction.
That's it.
But really didn't know each other at all. And then to sort of start bouncing, the plot back and forth and building on it, editing each other's stuff. It's kind of an amazing experience, because I mean, one of the things, we had a couple of rules we laid down right from the beginning, which was like no egos, no deadlines. If this takes a year or 2 years to finish, doesn't fucking matter. So we both have other books we're working on. And then we tore through it in about 2.5 months, had our first draft out, which is nuts.
That's fast. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a very cool experience.
That's really
kind of amazingly well. Yeah, I totally suggest getting somebody else to write half your books.
It's the new trend.
Everyone's doing it.
Nice. Yeah. No, I really like the idea of taking two characters and having, writing towards a center, like you said, like two trains colliding. I think that's really clever, and it's something I've always wanted to explore.
It really makes each character having their own distinct voice way fucking easier. Instead of one person trying to write two completely different voices. I mean, like Clayton writes whatever Clayton writes, I write whatever I write, and we've both got different enough styles that the characters are massively different. And yet, because we both lean towards the dark stuff, often people don't know which character we wrote. And like about half the time people are guessing wrong. I think I wrote Clayton's character and vice versa, which is very cool.
I'm intrigued to see now.
Yeah, editing each other's stuff maybe kind of help sort of blend the lines there. But
yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I think you do pick up pieces of the other author's voice as you go, just because it's you're exposed that closely to it. So
yeah, you're right. Yeah, I think it's really interesting. It's something that I'm doing at the moment with David Estes. We're kind of just kicking off, really. We've sort of just been like plotting together. And it's something I'm really excited to do, and interested to see, like, could this be the way I want to write from now on, and why not? Because it's that collaborative aspect is so good, especially like you said as well, bouncing the ideas and sort of removing that imposter syndrome level. Is this any good? And then someone says it is, or actually sometimes you need it and be like, no, it's not. We need to change that. And you normally don't get that until you've got the 150,000 words, almost finished draft pretty much, and then you go to the editor, and that's the first time you maybe get some feedback if you don't use betas or even beta readers. And I think it's really, really interesting having that in the actual bones of the writing process, chapter by chapter, or even scene by scene.
Yeah, definitely. How are you guys splitting up the writing duties for yours?
It's mostly kind of, I would say 2/3 me, because it was mostly my idea. So I'm kind of leading the concept, but then, they was kind of doing a lot of, close reading, kind of expanding on bits and sort of rewrites / edits, that sort of thing. Just, I like this bit, let's go off on this tangent. Yeah, it's really, really fun. But it's real close feedback. And then, I got 2 months to finish that off. So I'm going to be working hard. We'll see. But it's something that, one of the reasons why I wanted to get you guys on the show, interview, the author lounge in general, is to discuss that. And I think you were seeing it a lot more as well, especially with the people that, do want to explore these crazy ideas, and also explore, darker ideas that, with another author that has similar dark, evil minds.
Yeah. And it's a scary process when you're each writing one character. I mean, even though we're reading each other's stuff, there's a degree to which you're always wondering, how the fuck are we going to bring these two storylines together? Like, how are we going to make this click at the end? And like Clayton said, I think we were like 70-80% through when we were sort of like, oh shit, this is the ending coming. This is where we have to be. And as soon as we both were like, guys, I think it clicked for both of us at the same time.
Yeah.
And then once we're both on board and sort of like working towards the same ending, you're like fast, effortless. Is like boom, 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 boom. Like the last couple of chapters just like fell out. It was amazing.
Oof. I love that feeling.
Oh yeah. So much better than writing the same first 3 chapters over and over again. That's what I'm doing right now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's sort of, when it suddenly clicks like that. And it's really weird because it's one of the right pieces of the writing process that I don't think you can ever plan. You just have to keep writing until hopefully it suddenly just goes, like you said. Yeah. I want to know what that is now. I'll have to read it. Yeah, I stayed away from the spoiler interview that you did yesterday or that came out today. But I'm just, finger hovering over the play button. Like, I want to know. So yeah, what are some of you said low fantasy, so I'm assuming obviously no elves and dragons here, but what are some of the fantasy elements without giving too much away?
So I as far as the fantasy elements, there's 2, and one of them is borderline at best, I think, and that's the megafauna. We really built the economy and kind of certain details of the world on the idea that this country runs on harvesting every part of these megafauna that live out in the taiga and on so that was part of it, because it's not something you really see every day. And then the other was the stone personality stones, the ability to take part or parcel of who somebody is or traits that define them and put them into a stone and then share that with someone else.
That sounds really interesting. Yeah, there's a couple of things I haven't really seen yet explored before. I like that, like Horcruxes and then like avatar trees. But I'm imagining fewer blue people, obviously, less flying ships and stuff. Let's take it kind of back to, obviously, because we're all indie authors here. We've all been self-publishing for quite a while and got a good number of titles out. So and I always like to kind of dig into this with the authors to come in here. What's the best part of being an indie author? And what's the worst part of being an indie author for you? You'll take that one, Clayton? Go for it.
Sure. Best part is probably just the freedom. I can write whatever I want. As Mike had said, when he read Psalm, it was flat out insane. And that's what I wanted to do at the time. I wanted to be completely unhinged when I wrote that. And that's where it went. And, there was nobody there to tell me I can't sell this. I can't, do this or do that. And that was very freeing. And I guess as far as the worst part would be budgets. Budgets are awful. Advertising budget, cover art budget, editing budget, just so on and so on. It's painful at times.
Yeah, I feel that one, especially after kind of doing it. I thought, what I've never done is turn up my ad spend all the way up just to see what it would do, and then regret that immediately a month later. So yeah, it was fun. What about you, Michael?
Yeah, so I'm a control freak, which I have to kind of like when working with another author, try and reel in a little bit. So I like having my fingers in kind of every aspect. I love the fact that I'm finding the artist. I'm working with the artist on the scene, on the cover art, figuring out exactly what I want. And being continually amazed when Felix completely ignores what I want and then just gives me a cover that's awesome because he's actually good at it and I'm not. But I love that. Like Clayton said, the freedom to kind of write whatever it is you feel like writing. The budget side, it's becoming less of an issue. Like I've got enough books out and like the Obsidian Path series is kind of doing well enough that I'm, the first pile of years, basically every penny that a book made, I just like threw into the next book. Like each book was paying for the cover art for the next book. I think the worst part for me is the business side because I'm so crap at it. I don't advertise at all. I'm not on AMS ads. I'm not doing any social media advertising, like paid advertising, aside from me. Just babbling at people, and I keep thinking like I probably should, it would help if I could actually kind of like psych myself enough to pay attention to ads and keywords and all that shit. I just find that whole side like incredibly depressing. So like I just don't, so far I haven't gone there, and basically just relying on word of mouth. The amazing thing is that seems to be working. So I'd like to convince myself that it will continue working, but I bet advertising would help.
It's one of those pitfalls, I think, that people, especially for people who are just brand new to the genre or brand new to the business of indie publishing, you have to market, you have to be on Facebook ads, you have to be on AMS. Some people are even saying you have to be in Google ads and LinkedIn ads and things like that. It's just like there's that pressure of doing everything at once. Do you guys, obviously you said advertising something you've never dipped into, but do you have this pressure, that you have to do this to succeed, and you have to do X, Y, and Z and do it all? Do you feel that?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a certain degree of pressure there that, if I don't do this sort of thing, or if I don't put this book out by now, and if I don't do this, that I'm not succeeding in the right way, maybe. But yeah.
Every other self-published author, you're like, oh, why are they doing so much better than I am? And they might not be. You have no fucking idea how much people make or don't make. And, it's kind of like everyone appears to be doing amazingly well. And you're always like, but I'm scraping pennies from the corner of my sofa. Come on.
That's it. Yeah, dressed, haven't washed in days.
So, there's like perception is kind of part and parcel with the whole pressure. But yeah, like a lot of it self-imposed, like deadlines. You put a deadline to a book that's self-published. If it comes out a week later, no one cares. A month later, a year later. But no, you're like, no, I've only got 6 months to get this out. Fuck. Yeah. I don't know.
It's kind of interesting because, going back to the sort of the perception idea of things. I mean, Twitter's great. Do you find that you sort of see a tweet, going viral, and this person's always getting, 100 retweets and that sort of stuff? It seems to me like, oh, damn, I'll never be that successful. And then you're like, now my books are shit. And then it all just goes down off a giant spiral into collapsing in on yourself like a dying star. That's just an average Tuesday. But
Oh, yeah. I remember like some tweet, some whatever, nothing crap I put out, like got retweeted 13 times. And I'm like, yes, 13, I've gone viral. Like, it's all scale.
Yeah. And then you hear some author, like, I don't know, Will White, always at the top of Amazon, or someone else doesn't use social media, or just sits and writes in their house all day and just doesn't ever email anyone. And you're like, how are you doing that?
The most annoying thing about Will is how nice he is.
Oh, he's
like,
a great
chat
guy
with the guy, and he's really a good dude. And you're like, fuck, I wanted to hate you.
I know. Damn it. That's why it's good when someone is a douche. You get some author going off on one, and you're like, yes. That's cool. I'm always saying make writing the priority. Is that something you guys adhere to? Are you always writing first before marketing, or is it kind of a struggle? Do you find yourself kind of marketing more than writing?
Yeah, my marketing's what I want to do. I want to write. That's pretty much all I want to do most of it. It's marketing is always kind of a secondary thought for me, which it shouldn't be, but it really is. Creating something is a place and I don't like leaving my happy place.
Rightly so.
Yeah, and certainly, I mean, for the new writer, you got to have something finished. Like, there's no point in building your social media platform until you kind of have something to, talk about and stuff, at least to me. But yeah, marketing, I don't think of it as marketing so much as like chatting with friends. So like technically you could say like this, what we're doing here, it's kind of marketing. But I mean, if you look at it that way, that's kind of crappy, kind of boring. It's not a lot of fun. But if this is like hanging out with a couple of authors I like, whose books I enjoy, just fucking babbling about stuff, then that's way more fun. And so that's has been my approach to marketing from the beginning. It's always just chatting with people, interacting, new writers. If somebody comes to me with questions, you try and help them, and kind of try and always be available for whatever's going on.
And do you find the community is kind of the biggest part? Or because I mean, I'll wind that back a bit, because I personally find the community one of the biggest and best parts of the, the author, the indie author life, and that would be my answer for the best and worst part. But do you guys find the community has become more and more important over the last couple of years of being an indie author? Did you find that you kind of started out like sort of in your own little wasteland, and slowly but surely you found sort of like settlements of other authors and things like that? Because that's kind of how I felt, especially as a fantasy author. It's the weirdo talking about dragons and spells and stuff. So did you guys find that?
Yeah, I think the community's been great. It's, at least for me, I'm not naturally a social person, so being able to have that support system, being able to talk to people, or just being able to bullshit on a day-to-day basis is fantastic. It's like having your own group of friends you can just run over to, and everybody's fine with it. So
yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, I remember prior to Beyond Redemption coming out in 2015, I wasn't on social media at all. Like I had no Facebook account, no Twitter. I wasn't on any of that. And my agent was kind of like, oh yeah, you need social media. Go make friends with a bunch of writers. And I'm like, you can't make friends with writers. They're writers. They're like, oh, they're gods. You can't just walk up and start talking to people and be like, hey, be my friend. I had no idea how to do that. And that process of kind of learning how to hang out and socialize with people, that took years. But yeah, so initially it felt like a wasteland. Like you said, you create this account and there's you and your mom, and you're kind of like trying to interact with writers. No one's heard of you.
Imposter syndrome going crazy.
Going nuts.
I think that's why a lot of people start out saying like, I don't know what to say, so I'll just say buy my book. And they've been told that they need to go on social media. I'm glad your agent told you that you need to go and make friends and be social, because that, I mean, clues in the name, right? Social media. But yeah, I find a lot of authors kind of, I wouldn't say being desperate, but I think the desperation to sell, or the passion to sell and to be a success, bleeds into, unfortunately, going down the wrong tangents of using social media as a kind of bullhorn rather than a social media presence. So speaking of communities as well, can we confirm there's a cabal or not, or should we not confirm anything?
I would say for sure there's definitely a cabal that doesn't exist. We have shirts. Actually, I'm tying it in with community. Though there are an amazing number of writers who aren't in the cabal that doesn't exist on both the traditional publishing side and the self-publishing side. It's not quite 50-50, but I'm kind of amazed at how the two sides of publishing are becoming closer. And I think maybe it's, more people sort of seeing the advantages and disadvantages of both sides, and kind of realizing, we're all just writers. We're all, like basically shitty, ineffective humans, but we can do that together, Yeah, I think there used to be more of a divide, and that seems to be, fading.
Yeah, I think that. Have you seen the same sort of thing, Clayton?
Yeah, I think over the past few years, that wall between traditional and indie has crumbled quite a bit, and people are more willing to build community versus cliques. If that, that's one advantage, I think, to people realizing that it's a shared experience, regardless of if you're writing for Tor or if you're writing for yourself. It's everybody's in the same shit. So.
Yeah, that's the thing. It never ceases to boggle me when you see someone of like, the highest caliber of fantasy author that we can think of, and then talking about imposter syndrome, and you're like, what? I think I saw like Neil Gaiman ages ago, a couple of years ago, saying something like that. I was like, surely not Neil, not you. It humanizes, obviously. It's great from that. But yeah, I think I completely in agreement with you guys. That's been one of the best things about I think social media, is being able to not, aside from the marketing side, we've got obviously the ability to chat and to actually get out of our little writing caves, which for the last several hundred years has been the case. we've just sat in our own little worlds, with a typewriter or a quill or chisel and whatever. And I think, now it's the first time we're thinking, oh, actually, we do all experience the same sort of stuff quite often, and how to deal with it in the same sort of way. I think it's been, so useful indeed. And no Cabal, absolutely not.
No, definitely
No.
not.
Why would there be anyway?
No.
Yeah, what's your writing process, guys? Yeah, tell us how you write.
So for me, the ignoring the sort of like large scale process, the actual like ass in chair moment. So I've got I used to be an audio engineer. I have a small like recording studio set up in my office here. Subwoofer, studio quality gear, and
Jealous.
all that shit.
Love it.
So I put on skull crushing death metal. The lyrics have to be such that I can't understand them. So It's got to be all like, because if I can hear words, that just distracts me. It pulls me out of where I'm at. I just want insensate rage cranking away in the background. Downstairs, in the kitchen, all the cutlery and the glassware is all shaking and rattling. And my wife's like, what the fuck are you doing? So that's it for me. It's first mood. Just build the sort of crushing environment that takes me away from the world, cocoons me in rage. And then I'm basically like, I'm going.
Sounds good. You're in the flow state.
Yeah. Then I'm, in the flow state until something sort of kicks me out, like, a need for coffee or something.
Sounds awesome. Yeah. I know what you mean about the lyricless thing, just very quickly, because one of my favorite writing bands is Kill Switch Engage. And even though, some of their songs, like chorus wise, you can hear like lyrics and stuff, it is kind of the soaring. It's more like a melody than an actual feature. I love that shit.
Yeah. Great band too. But like something like Iron Maiden, where like I love the band, but the vocals are so clear. I can't write to like old school metal, because I end up just sitting there going like, yeah, run the hills, baby. Like, fuck.
So true. Yeah. What about you, Clayton? Are you a music fiend as well?
My process is really similar to Mike's. I will put on music, probably not quite as hardcore. Most of what I listen to is rock, that sort of thing. The lyrics just kind of tend to filter out as I listen. So mostly what I'm hearing are the guitars and the background. And then I write. It's a little more, I guess, maybe a little more mechanical for me, because I tend to just write for about 2 hours a night, 2 hours a morning, and then I'm done.
That's a good amount, though. Yeah, that's awesome. And especially like kind of putting writing first. I think, writing every day. Some people say it's toxic to try and do that. But I think, even if you just write one word a day, if it's you are still keeping yourself in the zone, in the mindset, still thinking about the book and stuff. And I think, it's, for me personally, and it seems like you guys agree, it's possibly a secret, or one of the secrets to consistency and just building up the ability to go into that flow state not whenever, but a lot of the times when you need it.
And learning that kind of any writing counts. I used to I'd track my word count for a day, but only like the words actually written for the book counted. And if I did, like a few thousand words of world building or plot structure stuff, like I'd never counted that. And, I'd be like, oh, I only got 300 words today. It's like, and wrote 3,000 words of plot. You're like, dude, that counts. And kind of allowing myself to go, okay, that was work and that is progress. Count that shit towards what you did today. Really made it all feel better. Like today, I don't know, I wrote maybe 50 words of actual book. But about 3,000 words of plotting out like the next couple of chapters on this thing.
Yeah, that's absolutely progress in my book. It's like, was it Rob J. Hayes the other day? And we've all probably had days like this where he had to take out 20,000 words from his current work in progress. And it's like, even though that makes me wince, that's still writing. It's negative, weird, backwards writing, but it's still part of the process, isn't it? Yeah. Have you ever had to cut out a big chunk like that?
Yeah, I think the most I cut was maybe 30,000 words from The Mirror's Truth, but it needed to happen and pull it out, read it, didn't miss it, ended up with this tighter book. It's like, fuck. Yeah. It's like there were some really pretty words in there.
What about you, Clayton?
Yeah, I think I realized about 20 to 30,000 words on the back end. I needed to just rip it all out and start over that specific section. And it was painful, but it made the book better in the long run, but ouch.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like your baby, isn't it? It's like cutting off a limb.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
And for me, it's the false starts are the most common because impatient. I just want to start writing my book. So I start writing my book and I have no idea where it's going. And you get, like 10 chapters of waffling where nothing happens and people are standing around talking about stuff and being witty. You're like, oh, this is all garbage, isn't it? It's like, it's fucking garbage.
Yeah.
You toss it. Like I just
take you so far.
scrapped about, I think 12,000 words out of the last Obsidian Path book. Basically scrapped everything I had and was like, dude, stop fucking around. Like, figure out what the story is and then start writing.
Yeah, I think I have about 60,000 words from 4 or 5 different stories. Same thing. I just leapt into them and had no idea where they were going, and they ended up garbage. No steady.
Man, yeah, I've done that a couple of times this year as well. I don't know. Writing was so difficult this year, and I started one project. I find it's either sort of like 3 or 4 chapters or like kind of 20,000 words, however you want to kind of measure it, enough to kind of like introduce, well, what you hope is the main character, the plot, the scene, the problem, that sort of thing. And then you're just like, oh, this is shit. Throw that one away, and then you start another one. And it's like, I've never really had that as much as I have this year. Down to pandemic completely, and just fatigue from just being inside fucking loads of times. But yeah, it's very, very strange. But I mean, it's interesting because I feel they're like little seeds that you can go back to and think, well, yeah, this didn't work a couple of years ago, but maybe it will work now as either a whole new book or actually a piece of a new book. Who knows? Yeah, you keep all your stuff. Yeah? You never fully delete.
Yeah.
Oh, I couldn't.
Folders and folders, and I even keep old drafts of books. Like every time I make a major change, I dump that current version, into this old files folder. And every book has its own old files folder and old versions folder, and then there's like, She Dreams in Blood alt. All of a sudden, and now I'm working in that one because I scrapped something from the other, but always the other one's still there. And every book ends up with like 3 or 4 different endings before I actually kind of figure out, what's what.
Yeah, again, part of the process, isn't it? I think it's, oh man, I was just digging through the other day, and I just found I was like, is this actually a better ending from the one I ended up publishing that I completely forgot about? I just saved to a notes document. I was like, oh my god. What did I do? So what have you guys got in the pipeline then? Talking about your freedom, what's your next projects? Are you co-writing more? Do we have kind of I don't know, what do we got?
You wanna go?
Stand off. Who's gonna go?
I'll go here. So we are working on another book set in Narelska. We have added a 3rd author.
Wow.
So Krystle Matar, she wrote Legacy of the Brightwash, and it struck us both as just being stupid good for a debut. It's actually unfair. Nobody should right out of the gates. So we pulled her on board, and we're going to corrupt her. In the meantime, for personal projects, I've had a kind of a sword and sorcery ticking away at the back of my head.
Sounds good. You broke up just the last minute there, but I think we got it. Yeah. No worries. What about you, Michael? What have you got in the pipeline?
So I'm writing the last Obsidian Path book. Last kind of being in quotes because I suspect there's going to be a second trilogy. We'll see. But yeah, the last book, I think it's finally clicked after a couple of false starts. And I've got this idea for a real world horror novel that I think once I've got the Obsidian Path thing done and off my plate, I think that might be next. Oh shit. No, I've got to write the Last City of Sacrifice book too. Fuck. Okay. Once those 2 are done, then I get to write that thing.
That sounds awesome. Yeah.
Does anyone else have like a trilogy burnout? Like once these 2 are done, I just want to write standalones. Like fuck it. Maybe even in the same world, so I don't have to do like world building from scratch every time. Like Stand
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I'm on the second of the, well, technically it's the second trilogy. So yeah, it's kind of like double trilogy burnout, but yeah, it's like the similar sort of thing to you guys. And it's just, yeah, the second book is, once you get it done, it's like, what the hell am I going to do for the third one? I've never had this yet. And that's why I did the Heart of Stone book. It's because I did 2 series back to back. I was like, nope, not doing that. And even that is now becoming a trilogy slowly but surely. So fuck my life. But so where can we find you guys online? You know, where can we find your books? Where can we find you skulking on social media? What's your URLs, handles, all the fun stuff?
You can find me on Twitter at Clayton Snyder 2, or I have a website, ClaytonWSnyder.com, and then my books are kind of all over the place. So I should be at Amazon and Barnes and Noble and Walmart and all those places.
All the good places. Awesome.
Yeah. So I'm on Twitter as at MR Fletcher, I think.
Fletcher MR.
Fletcher MR. Might be. It's one of those two. I'm super good at paying attention to that stuff.
That's how little you care about social media.
Yeah. I'm on Facebook as me. MichaelRFletcher.com is a much ignored website, which has some pictures of my books on, I think, hopefully. Otherwise, you can find all my shit on Amazon and, you know, usual sort of places.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll get all the links up here, and you must go and buy these books, because yeah, I mean, it'll be worth it. I cannot wait to read NORYLSKA GROANS. I need that sort of book in my life now, I think. Yeah. Just I've been writing too much about dragons and minotaurs over the last couple of months. I need something gritty, grim, noir, and yeah, Russian themed. Yeah, thank you so much, guys, for coming along, for chatting to us. And yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. And yeah, hopefully get you back in the lounge for project number 2 with Krystle this time as well. We'll break another record and have 4 people in the lounge. Awesome.
Thanks for having us here, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Excellent. It's been a pleasure. Okay, don't forget to join us next month when we'll have probably one guest. We'll go back to one guest next month. But yeah, we'll be back with another Fantasy Author Lounge interview then. Take care. Take it easy. See you soon.